Today we're going to talk about multiple choice shortcuts and storing values in the calculator. If you notice your calculator, there are many letters that are located all over. Most of them are in green, however one that we most commonly use is X. What we can do is we can store numbers in for those letters so that we don't have to constantly type the numbers in. Let's take a look at a couple examples and see what we mean by this. In our first example, which linear equation represents a line containing the point 1, 3? Obviously, when we have this point, the 1 is our x value and the 3 is our y value. And so what we would need to do to solve this problem is to plug 1 in for x and 3 in for y and to figure out which equation works. So we can do all this on the calculator. We want to store 1 in for x and 3 in for y. To do this, we have a couple of buttons that we have to push. First of all, we're going to type a 1. Then what we want to do is use our store button. The store button is located right above the on button at the bottom left hand corner of the screen. That's going to tell us we want to store 1 in for, and then we need to type x, located up at the upper left hand corner. Once we have this, our 1, then our store, then our x, we hit enter, and that tells the calculator I want to store 1 in for x. I'm going to do the same for y. Now notice the y doesn't necessarily have a button associated to it. You're going to have to use the alpha button. So you're going to have to type the 3, then hit the store, and then hit alpha, and if you locate the y, it's a little green letter next to the 1. So you'll have to hit alpha 1, and then you'll hit enter, and that will store 3 in for y. Now what we want to do is take a look at our choices. Let's look at choice number 1, 2x plus 4y equals 10. If we plug 1 in for x and 3 in for y, we should end up with 10. So we're just going to type the left-hand side of the equation just like we see it, 2x plus 4y. And when I hit enter, the calculator is going to put 1 in for x and 3 in for y, and I should get 10. When I hit enter, I get 14, which means choice 1 is not the correct answer. Let's try choice 2. I type in 2x minus 4y this time. Again, the calculator will put in 1 for x and 3 for y. When I hit enter, I get negative 10. Not the correct answer either, so choice 2 is out. Let's try choice 3, 4x plus 2y equals 10. Again, I type in 4x plus 2y. The calculator will do the substitution for me. I hit enter, and I get 10 as an answer. So choice 3 is my correct answer. And just to check and make sure, let's check choice 4. When I type 4x minus 2y and hit enter, I get negative 2. And therefore choice 4 is not the correct answer. Let's take a look at another example. What is the value of a squared minus 4b over 2 if a is equal to 4 and b is equal to negative 3? This time what we're going to want to do is we're going to want to store in 4 for A and negative 3 for B, what our question tells us to do. So I'm going to follow the same buttons. Remember, I need to type the 4 first, then I need to hit the store button, and this time I want to store 4 in for A, and I'm going to need to locate A. If I hit the alpha button and then go right underneath the alpha button to the math button, there is a little A in the upper right hand corner. That is my A. So if I hit alpha A and then I hit enter, 4 will be stored for A. The same needs to happen for B. In this case I need to store negative 3. I need to type in negative 3, the store button, alpha, and the B actually is the button right next to the A. I hit enter and I'll store negative 3 for B. Now in this case we don't need to check our choices. We just need to type in our expression in our problem. So when I type in the expression in the problem, it should look like this. A squared minus 4b, all in parentheses, because I need to put the numerator in parentheses if it contains more than one term, and then divided by 2. When I hit enter, I should come out with my answer. When I hit enter, I get 14, and I notice that 14 is choice 4. Now, let's just take a look and make sure that this is actually working. If I were to substitute 4 in for A and negative 3 in for B, you notice that this would be the substitution I would make. 4 squared minus 4 times negative 3 all over 2. When I simplify the numerator, 4 squared is 16. I have negative 4 times negative 3, which is positive 12. So my numerator would turn into 16 plus 12, all over 2. I simplify further, and I end up with 28 over 2. And if I do the simple division, 28 over 2, it equals 14. So you can obviously see that the calculator is doing the substitution and actually doing all the work for me. Let's take a look at one last example. This one asks, which value of x is the solution of x divided by 3 plus x plus 1 divided by 2 equals x? Now in order to do this one by hand, we'd have to get common denominators, and then we would have to solve. And there would be a lot of places where we could make a mistake. However, for a multiple choice problem, we are given 4 possible answers. So we can go in and we can just check each one of these answers. In order to do this, we're going to want to store our choices for x. So in this case, we're going to start with choice number 1. We want to store 1 in for x. And again, here's the buttons that I choose. Now I'm going to type in the left-hand side of the equation. Notice I type in x divided by 3 plus x plus 1 in parentheses divided by 2. And I need to put the x plus 1 in parentheses because there are 2 terms in the numerator. Now I need to type an equal sign. And if you look through your buttons on your calculator, you will find that there are no equal signs. Therefore, we need to access the equal sign in a menu. The menu appears if you hit the second button and then the math button, which is located right below alpha. If you hit second then math, it brings up this test menu. And you notice an equal sign, a not equal sign, and all of our inequality signs. We need our equal sign, so we're just going to hit 1 and the equal sign should appear on our home screen. And then we could finish out our equation and type x. So we have our equation in. Now what the calculator is going to do is it's going to substitute 1 in every place it sees x. And when I hit enter, I get 0. Now if we think about this for a second, we have an equation. The 0 does not mean that the equation equals 0. What the calculator is telling us is that when it shows a 0, that means the equation is false. When it shows a 1, that means the equation is true. So what the calculator is trying to say is that when you plug in a 1 for x, this equation is false. Therefore, we know that choice 1 is not the answer. So let's go through our remaining 3 choices to figure out which is the answer. We'll check negative 1. Again, we want to store negative 1 in for x. And then what we want to do is, again, we want to type in our equation. Now, it would take us a long time to go back through and to retype x divided by 3 plus x plus 1 divided by 2 equals x. So there is a quicker way in order to get it. If we were to hit second and then enter, the calculator will bring up the last thing that you entered in. Now, we want 2 lines ago. As you can see, our equation is 2 lines above. So we want to hit second enter, and then you'll have to hit second enter again, and your equation should appear. If you can't necessarily figure it out, you can always type your equation back in, but it's just a quicker way in order to get back to that equation that we had. Once we have our equation typed once again, now our calculator is going to put in negative 1 every place it sees x. If I hit enter, my calculator again gives me 0, which means by plugging in negative 1 in for x, my equation is still false. So choice 2 is not the correct answer. Let's try choice 3. Again, I want to store 3 in for x this time. And when I store 3 in for x, I go back to second enter. I'll need to hit second enter to get my equation to appear again. I hit enter one more time, and when I hit enter in one more time, I notice that I get a 1, which means true. This means choice 3, when I plug in a 3 in for x, my equation is true. Therefore, choice 3 is the answer to the question. Now, just to make sure and to check, we'll check choice 4. When I store choice 4, negative 3 in for x, and then plug in negative 3 into my equation, again, it comes out with a 0, which means false. And as a result, choice 4 is not the answer. 3 is our value of x, which will satisfy our equation.